US President Donald Trump is once again turning up the heat on Japan, this time over cars. He says the US sends almost no vehicles to Japan, while Japan floods the American market with millions of cars. But here's the truth. Japanese automakers are deeply rooted in the US economy. Companies like Toyota, Honda, and Subaru support over 500,000 American jobs and generate nearly $170 billion in sales right here in the US. They're not just selling cars, they're powering local economies from Kentucky to Alabama. They keep steel mills running, fund local governments, and support technical schools, but all of that is now under threat. The White House is seriously considering a 25% national security tariff on Japanese-built vehicles under Section 232. This would hit not only Japanese imports, but also American-built vehicles with Japanese parts, transmissions, batteries, driver assist systems, because many of those components still come from Japan or other Asian countries. If the tariff goes through, it won't just raise car prices. It could disrupt the entire auto supply chain. Factories, suppliers, software developers, logistics firms, everyone feels the squeeze. This isn't just another trade policy. It's a high-stakes gamble that could impact hundreds of thousands of jobs, billions in tax revenue, and 3 decades of trade stability. Japanese automakers currently make up 43% of all passenger and light commercial vehicles sold in the US. In 2023 alone, Toyota produced over 1.2 million cars in Texas, Kentucky, and Mississippi. Honda made nearly 1 million in Alabama and Ohio. Nissan, Subaru, Mazda, all have major American operations. These companies directly employ over 96,000 factory workers. When you include suppliers, dealerships, and finance jobs, that number jumps to over 400,000. And together, they generate more than $30 billion in taxes that fund schools, roads, and hospitals. The proposed tariff would dig straight into their profits. Most Japanese automakers in the US operate on margins between 4% and 8%. A 25% tariff could erase that margin entirely, forcing them to raise prices, cut investment, or even scale back US operations. And that's the real danger. If they start pulling out, towns and cities across America will feel it. Unemployment could rise, especially in places like Mississippi and Alabama. And according to government estimates, the tax losses alone could top $26 billion by 2027. There's also a financial risk. Japanese institutions hold more than $1 trillion in US Treasury bonds. That investment helps keep currency exchange rates stable and supports low inflation expectations. But if Japan sees these tariffs as politically motivated, they could start dumping bonds. Even if just 5% were liquidated, the Fed might have to raise yields at upcoming auctions. That could drive up the 10-year Treasury rate by 30 to 45 basis points, raising interest rates across the board. All this for a tariff that's expected to bring in maybe $78 billion over 10 years. And let's not ignore the cultural cost. For over 3 decades, US factories have adopted Japanese manufacturing techniques: lean production, just-in-time delivery, Kaizen continuous improvement, and automated quality control. There are nearly 200,000 US workers trained in these systems. If these companies retreat, that knowledge walks out with them. This isn't just about jobs. It's about losing an entire model of precision, flexibility, and expertise. And that kind of training doesn't just transfer to another company overnight. And the consumer impact, it's huge. 3 out of every 5 hybrids sold in the US are Japanese brands. 2/3 of all compact SUVs too. A 25% tariff would raise the base price of those vehicles by more than $4,000, even for entry-level models. That's freaking people out, and it's easy to see why. The key components in hybrids like inverters, electric control systems, corrosion-resistant coatings, and cooling systems still come mostly from Japan, Thailand, and Turkey. So in a market already stressed by high gas prices and tighter lending rules, this kind of price spike could freeze demand. People might hold off on buying, settle for used vehicles, or switch to gas-powered trucks and sedans that seem more affordable up front. But that pivot could derail the clean transportation goals that many states have tied their future policies to. Some say American brands will just step in, but that's wishful thinking. Ford, GM, and Stellantis are all betting on fully electric vehicles. They're phasing out hybrids and traditional models by the end of the decade. None of them have announced plans to bring back compact SUVs or hybrids at a level that could replace what Japanese brands currently offer. Even if they tried, it'd take years to permit, build, staff, and gear up the plants. That means we're looking at a production gap that could stretch through 2028. During that time, prices would rise, demand may fall, and inflation could get worse. This isn't just about tweaking trade balances. This is a massive, multi-layered challenge that touches every corner of the economy: jobs, taxes, finance, culture, and climate. For every billion the tariff brings in, there's another billion lost in tax revenue, lost productivity, and lost trust from global investors. And once the machine starts slowing down, it's not easy to fire it back up. Costs go up, profit margins get squeezed, supply chains crack. On paper, this might look like a bold move, but in reality, it risks unraveling 3 decades of industrial progress. The US auto industry isn't walled off, it's completely connected. Tug on one strand and the whole thing shifts. So here's the big question. Will this 25% tariff really protect American jobs, or will it set off a chain reaction that ends up hurting the very industries it's supposed to help? Let us know what you think in the comments.